Part 4. Chapter 4. When we want to contact souls on the other side, most of us usually think about connecting with someone whose physical body has died. Fewer of us realize we may also contact souls who have not yet been born. The same principles of love, connection, and trust apply in both circumstances. And because the soul is a continuum that exists not only in an afterlife, but during a before life too, such communication is possible. If there is a genuine need to speak with a soul not yet born, we use the afterlife healing circle to make that encounter safe and productive, devoid of drama or phenomena that just get in the way and are not at all helpful. Deborah Wilde, another pseudonym, was trapped in an agony of indecision. Her 8-year marriage to a man older than she, of another nationality, culture, and religion, had never been easy. Now it was threatening to founder on the shoals of severe financial strain and quarrels over in-laws. At age 29, she already had one child, a daughter nearly 3 years old, and she was pregnant again. This time, Deborah couldn't feel the joy so many women experience upon learning this news. She feared the possibility of raising not one but 2 children by herself. How would she find the courage to give birth again? Should she consider an abortion? The choice was overwhelming. Her husband didn't make things any easier for her. He said the decision was hers and refused to discuss his feelings about the pregnancy, leaving Deborah even more isolated and in greater pain. Then a friend suggested the afterlife healing circle. "I didn't realize you could do one for an unborn child," Deborah said. She contacted Jana and discussed the situation, and Jana agreed to conduct the circle for her. Although her husband didn't believe in all this metaphysical stuff, as Jana calls it, he accompanied Deborah and participated in the session, partly out of curiosity, but mostly out of genuine, although inarticulate, concern for his wife. A couple who were friends of Deborah and her husband also took part. Both of them, accomplished professionals, had never done anything like this before. At that time they were just becoming interested in spiritual growth and alternative healing. We always emphasize one point about the afterlife healing circle: we don't have to be professional psychics, or even consider ourselves to have any psychic ability, to take part in and contribute to a healing circle. We need only apply the 3 principles: love, connection, and trust. During an afterlife healing circle for Deborah, a little soul comes to stand in the middle of our circle, undetectable to the 5 physical senses but perceptible nonetheless. Tousled dark hair spills out from under a tight-fitting, old-style aviator helmet. This soul clearly presents his form as male, is wearing a jumpsuit and a scarf. In the hand that he holds up is a model airplane that dives and loops and curls when he waves his arm. Next to him is what looks like an architect's model of an office building, almost as tall as he. He is a self-assured soul with a genuine sweetness about him. There is also a hint of mischief and of a very strong will. He knows what he wants for this physical lifetime. He wants to fly airplanes. He tells us he has chosen Deborah's husband as a father partly because her husband is a licensed pilot with thousands of hours in the cockpit. He also says he's interested in architecture and designing things. He has a very full agenda for his next sojourn on Earth. He's so cute and bright and cheery that he moves some of us to smiles as we gather this information through our soul senses and pass it on to his would-be mother and father. Then Deborah blurts out a few jumbled phrases. She can barely put her feelings into words to explain to the soul why she is so reluctant just now to continue this pregnancy. Her painful quandary and distress are so palpable, so immediate, that Candace's eyes fill with tears. Others react the same way. The little aviator quickly understands. "I can wait," he assures Deborah several times during the session. "If the time is not right, I'll wait." Before the afterlife healing circle is over, the little aviator makes sure we all understand one thing: when he finally does arrive, by golly, he wants to be known by his father's middle name. Candace can't help nodding. The name suits him. Immediately after her circle, Deborah found that the nausea she had been experiencing in the early stages of her pregnancy simply vanished. "My whole attitude changed," she said. "The pregnancy became something I accepted. And it did something else for me. It made me realize that even if my marriage didn't stay together, I still wanted the baby. It gave me more confidence in myself. I'm so glad now I chose to keep the baby." He came to help me with balance. The afterlife healing circle helped Deborah sort through her dilemma. Her marriage ended in divorce, and not long afterward, she sold her business and moved out of state. The little aviator touched down on planet Earth the following spring, and is now in his 20s. Deborah eventually remarried. Deborah and Clara immensely appreciated and benefited from the Afterlife Healing Circle, but many others will not. We took some lumps learning this lesson. One of Jana's students introduced an acquaintance who asked for the Afterlife Healing Circle. Jana's intuition waved a big red flag of doubt about this woman's true motives, but she was so insistent and emotionally needy that Jana agreed to do it. That proved to be a big mistake. The woman wanted to communicate with her late husband, not for healing resolution, but to find out where he had stashed a mind-boggling sum of drug money. He was murdered because his drug connections knew he had been holding back on payments. His death was grisly and depressing, as we witnessed it once again during the session. Even worse, the people who killed him were ruthless and determined to find that money one way or another. Had the woman discovered its whereabouts during the circle, her own physical safety and possibly the security of all those who participated with her could have been in jeopardy. Jana called an abrupt halt to the circle before the location of the money could be determined. Even the woman's late husband, once he was in the circle, repeatedly implored her to forget about what he called blood money and get on with rebuilding her life. She was less than receptive to that urgent message. To this date, this has been the only afterlife healing circle involving Candace that evoked complaints afterward from some of the participants. Mostly, they were amazed the woman wanted anything to do with the money. They realized the extreme danger, even if she chose to ignore it. Looking back after many years, Jana suspected the woman took part in her late husband's drug dealings. Since then we have been even more careful when screening people who ask for the afterlife healing circle. We call such a person the inquirer. A request is the first guideline. We make it known that we are capable of conducting the afterlife healing circle and willing to do so, and then we allow an inquirer, such as Clara or Deborah, to make a request of us. Next, we establish that the inquirer has some sort of emotional tie to the soul to be contacted that is reciprocated. This two-way connection can be through kinship or friendship, it doesn't matter, and we don't need a want to know the precise nature of the relationship. That usually becomes apparent during the circle. The love connection counts above all else. The emotional bond and recognition are what draw the soul in question to the afterlife healing circle. When you circle with men and women who are all coming together for a similar purpose, it sends out a beacon that our ancestors can come and make themselves known, explained Brianna, the intuitive counselor and teacher. They have a safe space. Even disembodied souls want and need reassurance about their security. This is obvious if we think about it. If we were walking down the street and someone in the middle of a group called out our name, would we respond to the summons? We might, if we recognized and cared about the person calling our name. If we didn't know anyone there, most likely we would ignore the call and continue on our way, probably at a little faster clip than before. Unless, of course, we crave attention or, even worse, want to stir up trouble. This is why adoring fans are more likely to contact an impersonator of Michael Jackson, Princess Diana, or Elvis Presley who is no longer in a physical body, not the soul who actually lived as one of these well-known people. The fans hold no emotional draw for any of these three, even if the fans worship their idols from afar. Those who might be able to reach the gloved one, the princess, or the king of rock and roll are their family members or close friends. The only way to find out for certain is to conduct the afterlife healing circle with one or more of these people present. The need for a two-way emotional connection between the inquirer and the souls in question helps minimize the inappropriate use of the afterlife healing circle. This simple procedure is most definitely not intended as a means of invading where we have not been invited, even if it is tempting to try to be of service. Some time ago we discussed more than once the possibility of using the afterlife healing circle for all the souls who remain caught up in a major plane crash near where we live, but we don't stand much of a chance of being successful without involving at least one person with a very close emotional tie to someone whose physical body perished in the accident. We are not acquainted with anyone in that situation, and no such person has come forward to ask us for help. If such a person were to agree to act as the inquirer, then that person might be able, with the help of a group, to attract the attention of at least one soul. Then we could all help that soul realize that the pain is over and that it is free to move on. That soul, in turn, might be able to get other souls still lingering at the crash site to come to the group to hear the same message. The group would also help set them free and show them the way to the light of God's unconditional love. That is what is known as a soul rescue. It is one of the most loving and generous acts any of us can do for someone else. Even so, we need the permission and participation of someone affected by the situation. At first, Jana thought her client was exaggerating in her description of the circumstances that bothered her. The woman was worried about the physical safety of her house and her neighbors' dwellings, too. The more the client talked about her unsettling visions, and once Jana tuned into the situation using her intuition, she realized that there were souls around her client with issues that the Afterlife Healing Circle could help resolve. A soul rescue could be done. Candace made phone calls and arranged for a group of clients and students to meet at the woman's house one fall evening. Many years after the circle we're about to describe, Yaki explained to us that these souls were a breakaway group of cliff-dwelling Native Americans from the desert Southwest. Men, women, and children walked east many hundreds of miles looking for a place where they could rebuild their lives and live in peace. Eventually they arrived at a low-lying locale near a source of water and set up a temporary camp. They intended to move on because they knew they were crossing disputed territory claimed by several tribes, and it was not safe to linger, but seemed a good spot to stop and take an extended rest, hidden from prying eyes. They were not concealed well enough. Attackers caught them by surprise and slaughtered every one of them, leaving their bodies where they fell to rot under the sun, untended and unburied. The land, soaked with their blood, eventually claimed their bones. Later their remains were covered over by the houses of what grew into one of the affluent cities next to Dallas, Texas. It was as though these people had been washed away and never even existed on this earth. Lost and seemingly forgotten, they remembered and waited, unwilling to depart despite the entreaties of their ancestors urging these souls in limbo to move into the light. Leading the Afterlife Healing Circle, Jana is astonished by how many souls gather on the outside of the circle formed by the volunteers and the client. She feels their presence is a tremendous pressure. She says, "All the souls who lived in this area and are upset and not free, please come into the circle." Only one of them enters, and her impression of him is of an older Native American man chosen to be the spokesman for the hundreds and hundreds who are present. She feels the man vacillate between rage and deep sadness. His rage is from the disrespect shown to his body and the bodies of his family and his tribe. What soulless thing could have done this? Jana feels him ask repeatedly. He has been trying to understand for what those in physical bodies would consider many, many lifetimes. What has infuriated the elderly man and his tribe is not the killing of their physical bodies, Jana realizes. They knew they were trespassing and accepted both the risk and the consequences. They would have done the same to those who encroached on their hunting grounds, because such actions took food out of their mouths and the mouths of their families and tribe. What keeps them livid, unable to move on, is the disrespect shown to their bodies, which were not given the proper rights. The ultimate insult is all of the construction on top of what these souls consider sacred ground where the dead lie, unacknowledged. They find the situation intolerable, soulless, and cannot let it go and depart. Then one member of the circle sends the old man a huge shot of love, telling him, "You're right. They were soulless. But I don't think they knew you had ever been here. We certainly didn't. We acknowledge your presence now and honor you with our love and respect," Jana adds quickly. Beyond the circle she perceives the loving light and the voices of their ancestors, still calling out to them, still urging those who linger to join them. They have been waiting a long time for their loved ones. Jana asks the group to help her encourage these trapped souls to move through the circle to the light. At long last, it is enough. Their anger subsides enough for them to perceive the light in their ancestors, ready to welcome them home. As they move through the circle, their energy feels like a hurricane to Jana. "Go in peace," Jana and the other members of the circle tell him and all of the other souls who finally can leave this place to move into the light and into a new life. The old man, the last to depart, looks every member of the circle in the eye and nods his thanks to each one. In the case of this healing circle, although the client did not personally know the souls in question, she had an intimate connection to them, thanks to the location of her home on the ground where their bodies had fallen and decayed. Without such a legitimate tie, we have no right to butt in, however well-meaning our intentions. The road to we nowhere is paved with good intentions, and Soulmate, this is a part of Zindagi Ki Roshni consultancy. It has been established for those who have lost someone and for those who are very sad in their life. About 100 PDF books and 20 short audio books of this topic will be sent to those who join it. This data will be sent to their email or WhatsApp. If you want to join this organization, then please send WhatsApp message to this number.